Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Salaam Britain. And now, subhanAllah, we're delighted to welcome two remarkable guests who have dedicated their lives to building understanding, compassion and unity within British society.
Yes, Christopher and Ben are two British Muslim gentlemen whose work spans education, advocacy, community building and humanitarian service. Through their presence in the British House of Lords, mainstream media and grassroots community spaces, they have challenged misconceptions about Muslims and have worked tirelessly to combat Islamophobia.
Absolutely. Now, drawing on their own journeys into Islam, they bring a unique and deeply personal perspective to their outreach. They are presenters, event hosts, social media influencers, and founders of several impactful initiatives, including the Muslim Football Supporters Association, the Muslim Forest Supporters Group, and their humanitarian project, Cabin, which has taken them into refugee camps in some of the world's toughest environments.
With academic backgrounds in Middle Eastern studies, international social policy, Arabic and politics, including specialist research into Islamophobia, they combined lived experience with scholarly insight. Their work is rooted in kindness, bridge building and belief that Muslims must shape their own narratives in today's media landscape. And so we are honoured to have Christopher and Ben on the show. Let's just name it like the short one. Chris and Ben, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Wa rahmatullah.
MashaAllah, subhanAllah, where to begin? Okay, let's start
Usually
here.
at the beginning.
Now, subhanAllah, both of you bring your own lived experiences into your work. Can you share a little bit about your personal journeys into Islam and how that has shaped what you're doing today?
We'll give a brief summary, won't we?
Very brief.
Wait, are you going to talk about the bike?
Yes,
the best
yes,
bike in the world and...
Yes.
No, very brief.
Very, very brief. So I was in school and I had the best bike in school. Nobody had a better bike than me. I had the best bike ever. And so one of my friends took my bike one day and it made me walk down a little path towards church that we had to go to, or some sort of a Christian act of worship. And then it suddenly sparked in my mind. Well, Wesley's gone off with my bike at 8:30 in the morning, and God is God and Jesus is a man, and the definitions of godhood and manhood cannot be combined. And it was this kind of like, wow, light bulb moment that...
Epiphany.
Yes, it was almost an epiphany. It was, well, I actually believe that was true hidayah suddenly coming down into my heart, and that inspired me to look into Islam and eventually become a Muslim. Went to the University of Leeds later on in my life and bumped into a chap called Ben.
Allah.
Ooh. I know that. So when I first met Christopher, it was in an Arabic...
Was he on his bike?
No, he wasn't on his bike, but he did have a suit on.
Okay.
He did have an umbrella, even though it wasn't raining, even though we were in Leeds.
True British.
Yeah, this is the thing, like, this is literally how he dresses. These are his gym jams, aren't they?
Anyway, crack on with your story.
So anyway, he kind of inspired me quite a lot. I ended up doing, like, quite a lot of research about Mo Salah, who we were talking about before, who we didn't actually meet. It was a clone.
Yes,
and,
which looked exactly like him.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? You never know who you're going to bump into in Waterstones, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
How do you know that we're Chris and Ben?
Oh.
So anyway, so I started doing...
It's down to the producer, he's done the research.
Oh, well, I hope he's doing a good job. So basically, I ended up doing research about his performances on the pitch for Liverpool, and because obviously when he celebrated goals, he'd go into sujood, and I ended up going to mosques. I walked into a mosque with my shoes on, had no idea. No, I wasn't. Okay. I was trying to get into his DMs, but he just wasn't having it. And anyway, I was in a... I was in a room full of Egyptians, and they were like, "What you doing? At that time, you know, you're a non-Muslim. You're talking positively about Muslims. Are you a Muslim?" I was like, "Oh no." And then they started to show me things in the Quran that made sense. And push came to shove, had a shawarma, took the shahada outside a pub.
Wow, it was a shawarma. I never knew a shawarma was that
Syrian
powerful.
shawarma, the
That's
best
it.
in the world. I know that's going to cause a bit of controversy, but it's my opinion.
Please, quote him on it.
But I'm curious, just going back to the bike, how old were you when you you discovered that your bike was missing were you quite young?
Well, I did give it to him to ride. It wasn't missing.
Oh, you gave it to him.
I tried to keep the story short for you. I said, Wesley, go on, take my bike. He really wanted to ride my bike.
And then you realised, oh,
yeah,
okay.
about I was 15.
Okay,
Oh, amazing.
interesting.
So high school?
No, secondary school.
Secondary
We're not
school.
in America.
We're not in America, come on.
I need to.
Mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. No, thank you so much for that. Now, you often speak about Muslims shaping their own narratives. Why is that so important in today's media?
It's incredibly, incredibly important because for centuries upon centuries, Muslim narratives have been written for them. And the consequences upon that have been stereotypes, discrimination, and the stories have been twisted and turned upon different myths and legends throughout the storybooks of history. But it is upon us to take back that narrative, to take back the control of our own lives and say to the world, this is not what Islam is, this is not what Islam is, and this is not what people are telling you Islam is. This is not what Muslims are like, this is not what people are telling you that what Muslims are like. We know what Muslims are like because we are Muslims.
Absolutely.
We know what Islam is like because we follow that religion, and we're peaceful people that want to have sandwiches and pray and spend time with family. So it's important for us to take back our narratives to ensure that it's not written for us and we're in control and show the real image of our daily lives.
Talking about misconceptions, could you share a little bit about what are the commonly misconceptions that people face? I know we've been talking about it a lot. We've talked with Husna as well about it. What, in your eyes, what's your perspective on what misconceptions?
Well, you've got the older stereotypes, and then you've got the more contemporary ones. So the older ones are, for example, Muslims worship the moon, or Muslims worship Muhammad, or things like that. And then you've got the contemporary ones, like, for example, which we face a lot is, oh, you have to eat a samosa before you become a Muslim, or, I don't know, you have to change your name to Abdul and go to Pakistan, or things like that. So these modern-day conceptions that we face are what we're trying to combat, even, for example, the clothing that we wear.
I was going
to say, wearing a jubba, so you're not a Muslim. So this is my biggest pick as well. You're not wearing an abaya, so you're not Muslim enough. Or you're wearing a headscarf a different way, you're not Muslim enough. I was like, I'm Muslim through and through from my heart, because that's my taqwa, right, as a Muslim. It could be different ranges of Muslim. You're going to be on your starting journey where we're eating a shawarma and you've taken a shahada.
But you can have fish and chips and still be a Muslim. The point is that it's not about the threads of your clothing. It's about the faith in the heart.
Are you going to cite that?
Yes, I am.
You took that from me.
Oh, there's a really good one, because, mashallah, Christopher is very deep. He said something about the pebbles and the mountains. I love that, so I hope we can get that in later.
Oh, go on. Share with us, then.
What's that got to do with the topic?
Well, like Muslims are supposed to shape our own narratives.
Yes.
You know, we're all individuals.
We
are all pebbles.
How should Muslims shape on their own narrative? Go on, now share the story.
Each Muslim is a pebble.
I never said that. I just talked about that mountains are made from pebbles. So you start small and you eventually end up with a mountain. It's nothing like impressive.
Unity, no, mashallah.
Yes. See, how good was that?
That was a good parable.
You're
getting there. I mean, like, you know.
It's not good enough for my standard anyway.
You have to eat a few shawarmas to actually get it to the good standard.
You don't know the power of beans on toast yet.
Or Branston pickle, but that's pushing the boat out
beans,
there.
cheese on toast. Come on.
Have you tried it with Worcester sauce?
No, not with that.
Absolute banger.
Mashallah. But going back to your attire, I'm sure that there's an intention behind the way you are dressed. What are you really trying to tell people that view you? What is the message you're trying to give?
Well, the suit, or at least like the trouser, the shoe, and the shirt and the blazer is traditional.
Hang on a minute, the shoe?
Yeah, this is a shoe.
I wear two.
Down to the shoes,
I don't think these are flip-flops.
No, I wear two shoes.
Oh yeah, of course.
Plural.
Oh, semantics. This is what he's like. Like, oh, I'm going. No, but to the shoes, the socks, the trousers, the blazer, the coat, whatever. This is traditional British attire, right? And when we look at majority Muslim nations like Pakistan and the like, you know, they wear the shalwar kameez. That's their traditional attire. So what about British Muslims that are born here that don't necessarily come from a migrant background? And then we look back in history to people like our Bill, William Quilliam, who established the first mosque in this country. This was during the 1800s, the peak of British Empire, you know, lots of racism, etc. Many Muslims under British rule, more than the Ottoman Caliph as well, actually. But this chap in Liverpool didn't just wear a turban or anything. He was the quintessential British gentleman. So every other day, like, he'd wear this. But on Jumu'ah, he would wear a turban, a thobe and the like, but only for that day. But every other day, he'd wear traditional British clothing because you know, it's his culture, and this is our culture. So this is it's a visual representation of, like, British culture, traditionally, let's say, and you can still wear it and be a Muslim. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a thobe, and so does he. And I have a thobe that I call my potato sack thobe that I like to wear and just, you know, sit on the floor, make dhikr and everything like that. But at the same time, I like to go out, wear my shirt and tie, wear my brogues, wear my monks, and still be a Muslim, because this is part of my cultural identity as well. So I want to keep that, and Christopher wants to keep that, and we want to show people that you can keep that, as long as if it's within the parameters of the religion. Why can't we wear a suit, a blazer, and the like?
Yeah, we're not in 7th century Arabia, are we?
Exactly. And an interesting point that I've realised over a period of time, because I thought Muslims had to wear a thobe, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, didn't actually wear the modern standard thobe that we see a lot of people wearing.
Yes.
It was more like a shalwar kameez, which I think is a really important point.
So, you know, it's so important that you say that, because, like, a lot of people that have migrated from, you know, the subcontinent, Pakistan, India, and be it any part of the world, when they come in, they bring in their culture to the British Empire, to this country. But my kids who are born here, they have got very little essence of the culture back home. They haven't lived, they haven't been born, they haven't been exposed to that environment maybe a week or two during holidays. So they're not exposed to that culture, so they cannot resonate to that culture. So it's important, because my son always, during Eid or anything, he would wear the thobe, but he's quickly going to change into his trousers and a shirt, things like that. He's like, Mum, because it's your cultural thing, and okay, I'll go for the prayers, feeling how the men traditionally would wear it, and in our culture. And then he would change back, because I want to be British. I'm a British, I belong to this culture. And like you said yourself, it's so important, because culture and religion are two different things.
Exactly.
They're a left hand and a right hand. They've got a middle body in which is Islam that connects the both thing together. And people just look at the culture and they think that is the religion as well. So which is so unique what you're bringing in, because yes, like as Muslims, like from Pakistani culture, we get questioned differently. You would definitely be questioned like, oh, why aren't you Muslim enough? I'm not going to go there. Have you ever come across that question? You don't look Muslim enough to preach Islam.
When did you become Pakistani?
Yeah, somebody asked me when I became Pakistani, but that was a different time. But we do get told for not wearing, I don't know, our trousers, they're not short enough, or our suits are too tight, or our beards are too short, or so on and so forth, these kind of things, but we just ignore them.
Well, I think the bottom line that what you guys are saying is that you're bringing your whole self into the deen.
Yes.
You're not leaving any part of you when you took that shahada.
I'm still Christopher, and he's still Ben. We're not becoming different people.
Absolutely.
We're changing what's in the heart.
Important.
Now, talking about, you know, you guys are strong ambassadors about Islamophobia. You've researched as well in it. And still, like we were discussing in the news today, we're still coming to terms of having a term which is for Islamophobia or anti-Muslim or incidents and things like that. But what has been your most powerful memory? Or you remember an event or something like that, that was like your efforts to combat the Islamophobia?
You know, it's interesting, because when I was younger and I was going through the phase of wearing the thobes and that kind of thing, I wore the Saudi shimar and rigal. And I remember getting chased down the street by EDL back then. And I was only probably 16 or 17. I was really frightened for my life. And I was with a couple of friends, and we ran inside a supermarket. And just like the movies, I ran outside the back through the exit point, went into a mosque and locked ourselves in. I was really, really frightened. And I remember for the first time ever really feeling what other people feel like, just to walk down the street. You're not causing any harm to anybody else, but somebody decides to pick on you because of the way that you dress. And it was a horrible experience. So one of the ways that I decided that I really want to give myself to the field of Islamophobia was by my master's research at the University of Nottingham, looking into the speech that is used by politicians and the impact on the ground with everyday lives of people, and the impact of anti-Muslim speech, particularly by conservative politicians at the time in my research. And a lot of the research found that what politicians say, although it might be a bite-sized thing on TV, actually has a long-lasting impact with people on the ground, whether they're wearing niqab or not, whether they're wearing hijab or not, whether they're a different skin color or not. It's a detrimental impact. So I think also what me and Ben do is also giving pretty much our full selves to combating Islamophobia. And even, like, for example, the pin badge that I'm wearing today is for Muslim Heritage Month, which is next month, set up by Baroness Goher. And that's all about showcasing the heritage of British Muslims in this country and combating Islamophobia. And I think everything pretty much that we're doing is all about combating this discrimination, including the MFSA, which you mentioned earlier, the Muslim Football Supporters Association.
So I'm going to take a little bit of your insight of what is currently been debating, or it's been debating for a very long time in the houses and the parliament as well, the definition of Islamophobia. So what is your take? Do you agree with Islamophobia being the definition, or anti-Muslim? What was it?
Anti-Muslim
hatred or something like that. Which one would you pick?
Well, Islamophobia, the problem with that is that when you actually research into the scholars that came up with the term and the academics and the politicians, you understand where they're coming from. But the problem with the term is it's got a lot of baggage now. Yeah. That's the problem. And when you talk about phobia, it leaves a lot of loopholes for those that are really against Islam to come up and say, I don't have a phobia of Islam, I just hate Islam. And then it leaves these loopholes. And for example, there was a Richard Dawkins, he said, oh, throwing people off bridges and stuff, this isn't a phobia, I hate Islam. That's what he was saying. So you need a term that clearly defines it as this is discrimination and hate, and not allow these loopholes for people that just want to irritate Muslims and make the lives of Muslims a whole lot worse. So I would go with anti-Muslim hate. And then you've got the racism element as well, which is another debate, which is interesting, but I won't go into that.
But Ben, you know, I wanted to bring you more into it as well, because, you know, you guys are involved in so many, mashallah, organisations, humanitarian things as well. There's a Muslim Forest Supporters Group, there's Cabin. What inspired you to get involved in these? What was the pull for you?
Well, going to Forest, I felt like I'm the only Muslim Forest supporter. And something that I've noticed in conversations with Muslims over the years is that there's a generation of football supporters that don't support their local clubs. So when I was at university in Leeds, I'd say, well, why don't you support Leeds United? You know, good club and that. And they said, oh, it's because my father suffered a lot of racism at the time, so I wanted to support a team from afar. And I thought that was really sad. And you see it as a sort of generational thing, that obviously people that are from certain areas won't support their local club because of the past. So what I want to try and do with making, or both of us are involved in making a Muslim supporters group, is like encouraging the club to go out and encourage Muslims to support their local team, because mosques are pillars of the community, and one might say that football clubs are, and they're supposed to represent the people that live in these constituencies and the like. So I want to see Muslims going to the City Ground, which is where the mighty Nottingham Forest play, and 2-time European Cups, by the way, winners. Because I'm just sad, and there's a pool of people that haven't had the opportunity to go to, say, a football match because they'd rather watch it for whatever reason at home. And I think a lot of that does stem from fear of going. So that's part of that.
After certain matches as well.
Exactly. So I was making vicar, I had my counter and I was doing this and I had a guy who looked like a bit of a Steve. And I thought, oh, is he going to like hit me or something? But, you know, I just gave him a smile and he sort of looked and I went, oh, I'm just, you know, he was, oh, yeah, you're... I broke down that barrier straight away because I want it to be kind of normalised that, you know, Muslims are going to be going to matches, inshallah, in the future. So, and that's where the Muslim supporters... the Muslim Football Supporters Association comes in because we want to bring in people from all over the country on a national level to go and feel safe at football matches.
Yeah, too right, and they should feel safe.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in 2026 now.
And if we still
Muslims
don't
should feel safe in this country going to football matches, and they should be allowed to enjoy it just as anybody else.
And also with that, focusing on a grassroots level, we should be able to see more Muslims representing the England national side. I mean, Jed Spence, who was also a Forest player, he was the first Muslim to represent the national team. And don't you think about that? How many Muslims like live in this country? I think it's about 6 million, and we've been here for a long time, and we're not going anywhere. And I see Muslims being represented in cricket, but but football statistically is the most popular sport. And I know some people might be a rugby fan or even a cheese rolling fan or whatever, but football does have the ability to break down barriers and bring people together in ways that maybe other things don't. And it makes conversation and it gets people involved and people to see Muslims as part of society instead of being, I don't know, tokens online or on whatever, brings equal level playing field.
So my last and final question. I know we might have to get you guys back in here, but what is that you hope from the young British Muslims when it comes to take away from your work and from what you're doing at present?
Look, I want the younger generation to be, number one, proud to be Muslim, be contributors, positive contributors to society. And help people and be the best version of themselves and be successful. Go to university, start businesses, and just showcase what Islam is all about. Because I think what people forget is that Islam encourages us to be to have good character, and that's the way of the Prophet, isn't it?
So it's not going to help if we've got people sitting in their cars at 3 a.m. in the morning, you know, having balloons and all sorts of things and playing loud music and stuff. No, but if you're doing that and then you're spitting on the floor and you're throwing chicken boxes on the floor and then some guy comes up to you and says, oh, I hate Muslims, and then you say, oh, he's been Islamophobic. Look at yourself.
First.
Hold yourself to account before you are held to account.
And I think
that is an
on
amazing saying. Sorry, continue.
No, sorry, because you know, unfortunately, we are under the microscope. So and that's wrong, of course. But whatever we do, it's magnified.
Absolutely, screens are watching. Everybody's hearing and watching. Thank you so much. I'm sure we're going to hear from you a lot more next time you're in London. We will have you back on the couch, but right now we need to go out of the studio to hear the azan.
Oh, lovely.
So, inshallah, take care and inshallah, best of luck with your future endeavours.
Ameen,
and on that note, cheerio.
Cheerio.
Cheerio. Mashallah. Thank you so much, everyone. Remember, Islam Channel is here for you 24/7 across all platforms. Join the conversation and share your thoughts using the hashtag Salaam Britain.
And catch up on the latest news, trending stories and your favourite shows anytime on Islam Channel website and mobile apps. And it is us lot saying Salaam alaikum.